Welcome to this episode of Estate Agency X. Today, me and Rob are talking to Russell Jervis, the oracle of estate agency. We're going all the way back to him being a first-time estate agent in 1987, all the way through to being managing director of one of the country's, if not one of the world's biggest estate agencies. The things that he learned along the way. He's now managing director of Rayner Personnel, probably the top recruitment agency in estate agency, and how people use staff the right way, how people use the wrong way, all the things he's learned along the way. It's absolute gold. Hope you enjoy.
Estate Agency X, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business with hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
Russell, thanks for coming in. Tube strike and everything, you still managed to make it.
Only because I only walked.
Yeah. Right, okay. So you're one of the most well-known figures in the industry, but for anybody that doesn't know, can you give us a brief history of time on Russell Jervis?
Very kind of you. Well, for those, and thanks for having me on, those who don't know me, which I imagine there's quite a few people, I was an estate agent, still think I am sometimes, for probably 35 years. Started at Strutt Daughters in Colchester, that then got sold to Connells, stayed with Connells, then moved through to Town and Country Property Services, and where probably most people know me, then moved to Spicer McCall, and the history of Spicer Hart that then became, through acquisitions and growth, and became managing director of the Spicer Hart estate agency division, which included new homes, corporate sales, various parts of it, main board director in 2003, and then left there in 2019. So, 8th of December 2019. And now managing director of Rayner Personnel. So still heavily connected to the property industry, working with companies, independents, corporates in sales, lettings, property management, new homes, block management, and also the PropTech side. So
Wow.
So I run the franchise side for Rayner Personnel, along with my partner, the wonderful Joshua Rayner.
Yeah, Josh has been on.
He's been on, hasn't he?
Josh has been on, he has. So the oracle of estate agency, let's say. So if we go all the way back to those first moments in estate agency, how did you end up getting into estate agency?
Well, I got into estate agency. I was working at the Royal London. I was on a YTS scheme. I don't think it was a YTS then. I think it was called something else, but that was the basic principle. So I worked at the Royal London, and a friend of mine, Sean, best man to me, I was best man to him. He's still actively in the industry. Still see Sean regularly. He worked at Strutt Daughters, and it looked to me like he was having the absolute time of his life.
Yeah.
So
they're good at doing that at estate agents.
Yeah, honestly, he was living his life through estate agency, and he said, "Look, you should have a go at this." And so I went for an interview. Had an interview with Alex Smith. I can remember on 64 North Hill in the back office. He told me all the money I was going to earn on this magic calculator that became quite legendary. And I went home to my mum and dad and said, "Look, I'm going to leave this and become an estate agent. But before I get the job, I've got to do Thursday evening, Friday evening, all day Saturday as a trial." So I used to finish Royal London at 3:30, race home, get into town for 4:30 in my Debenhams suit. I think I've just finished paying off, and I would be given applicant cards, properties to phone out on, sat at the back of the office and phoned out. So I did Thursday evenings, Friday evenings, and every Friday evening got taken to the pub. So I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. This is why Sean likes it so much. And I work with some incredible people still in the industry now. I was the back desk. Eventually got offered the job. I think it was £2,000 basic and 2% commission. That was worked out to be 22,000 somehow. And I left my job at Royal London. I just got off the scheme and started at Strutt Daughters in Colchester, 64 North Hill.
What year do you reckon that was roughly?
1987.
87. Wow.
1987. So yeah. So I was a negotiator. You know,
Yeah.
that was it. With some, there was me, gentleman named Lee Riley. Sean moved to the Houston office. My manager, who I still see very regularly now, John Palmer, he's got a Palmer and Partners estate agents throughout sort of Essex and Suffolk. He was my manager, and yeah, I'd be doing phoning out and
Crazy.
working away from there. That
And-
was my starting to estate agency.
And so from there, what year? Do you remember what year you were made managing director of Spicer Hart?
Of the group, 2003.
2003, right? So 20.
3 years
6
ago.
years. 20. No, we're 26. I'm thinking from 1987
16 years.
to 2003, 16 years, right?
Okay.
16-year journey.
Yeah.
Which was the career dream, I guess, for anybody would be like start as a trainee, work your way all the way up to managing director.
I was living the dream every day.
Absolutely.
When I got a branch manager's job, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I didn't expect to get that. So,
and it must have been a crazy roller coaster to go from, that company that you joined at the time where Alec was just running was it a single branch? Or?
No, Struts had 11 or 12 branches, I think it was, and
Okay.
they sold out to Connells. Alec went on the main board of Connells. Paul became the regional director of his old company, effectively.
Yeah.
And we were all, when they left the Connells group after a small while, and my manager Andrew Guest, he then bought into another estate agency in Colchester. I followed him, which then got bought out by Town and Country Property Services, and Town and Country Building Society famously insured themselves against the mortgage indemnity guarantee. So they went bust, took over by the Woolwich. I carried on with the guy who bought out Town and Country, but couldn't really see a future there. And Alec, Paul, their office was opposite where I was working. And Alex said to me, why don't you consider coming and running financial services?
And this was Spicer McCall or?
Spicer McCall, original Spicer McCall,
Original,
So Spicer McCall had opened up about 1989, I think. And I was going to go with, there was 2 partnerships, and I was going to go with one of the partnerships that were going to still be running Spicer McCall. And that didn't come off. And Alex said, look, why don't you come over? And Paul said, come over and run our financial services business. I was like, right, I think I was about 23. I was thinking, financial services, okay. Well, my dad had been in mortgage services and financial services for years and years.
Oh, you're qualified.
So I was ready to go. And I went and did my exams. Well, I played hard to get for a while, so I kept getting a beer off Alec every Tuesday night and see if I was going to come across. And I took my exams and we launched Spicer McCall Financial Services, which then became Mortgages Direct.
Yeah,
and
I worked for Mortgages
I
Direct.
know. and so Mortgages Direct enabled us to take this mortgage business that was servicing Spicer McCall's 3 or 4 offices, and then we started servicing some other independent agents. And then, do you remember Beazer Homes were a large house builder, and we managed to get a contract with Beazer Homes to do their mortgages, new homes mortgages, and our mortgage business just grew and grew and grew, which got the attention of Winter Life, who were then known as Provident Life, who came to us. I remember about June, we were called to a meeting. They said they were coming to see us, and I think Alec and Paul were like, what have you done wrong? It must be a compliance. There must be something we've not ticked the right box, because we wrote a lot of mortgages. Not sure how compliant it was at that time, but we wrote a lot of business, so we'd got their attention. Plus, they knew we had huge appetites to expand. The Spicer McCall business wanted to expand and grow. And they came to us and said, look, you're delivering incredible results. We want to back your growth. We've been left with the Cornerstone empire, part of it. Do you want a slice? So a slice. So there was other conversations I wasn't privy to, but fast forward to the 15th of September 1995, I think we took 78 or so offices of the Cornerstone network, and then we were 3. Part-time payroll, part-time accountant, and then took over this beast of of a business.
And then bought Woolwich.
In 2 years later, 3 years later, Woolwich Property Services were acquired. Someone that Alec had known from various meetings. I think they both had history back in the brewery. I think the story goes they happened to be on the same train. He said, I've got this head of Woolwich Bank or Building Society. I've got this thorn in my side, Woolwich Property Services. Well, I've got an estate agent that wants to grow rapidly, and we've got Winchester want to back and back and back. And then, yes, I think 1997, we took over, I think, about 180 offices of Woolwich Property Services, which then became Heart. Heart is where the home is for that great sort of strap line. And a huge amount of indigestion because you've got Spicer McCall was on rapid growth. We were opening. I'd get a phone call from Alex saying, I'm in Folkestone. I go, oh, hello. Yeah. What are you doing there? So I've just completed on a lease. You need to get it open in 3 months. Juggling an awful lot of balls, but we had an awful lot of fun there. And from 95 to probably 2001, I think for those 6 years, we were a business that, had come from nowhere. Nobody had heard of Spicer McCall. And, who are these Essex boys telling us what to do? And I can remember, we used to be, I was doing a lot of the recruitment. I was almost begging people to trust us and come on board. And then we managed to get to, get some good people with us. And 2001, 2002, start to become more of an attraction business because people saw we were changing the way agency was being done, and we were proving the doubters wrong. We were still there
because it had grown so fast. I guess as well, it had a sort of it's a weird sort of independent corporate type thing, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It was like like the people that were working there were very much working in an independent estate agency. Each branch was like its own sort of thing. But that you were part of this sort of network where you
we tried to create a culture, create a cult, create. I felt also, along with a lot of my fellow MDs or regional directors, visibility was massive, and being in the offices, in the trenches, and being there, actually not just turning up and doing a bun run. Although I'm sure I was accused of doing some bun runs over the years of, all right, I've been there, I've ticked that off, but actually being with managers, negotiators, mortgage brokers, sitting with them, helping them overcome objections, maybe sometimes outstaying our welcome, and the awards evening culture we really embraced, really brought into it. And I think that helped to create, teams within teams that really drove a competitive edge, which ultimately, would help the customer because they were getting service because people wanted to improve their performance. But it comes with its definite growth pains.
Yeah. Do you think that'll ever be done again? Like, because
you're seeing it quite now in. I don't know the intricate workings of some of the businesses like Lomond and Leaders, seeing their growth and buying those independent agents that they're buying up.
They don't seem to be growing it as one company though. If you see what I mean, like they're building a group that has a lot. I know. In the end, Spicer Heart had a lot of different brands as well, but it started as Spicer McCall and then it Spicer Heart. But even at Spicer Heart, it was 200 odd.
I think 267 at its peak. And
that journey as well of like a negotiator going through to being managing director. Like, I'm just wondering whether whether that period of time whether it could ever be done again. Whether
I'm sure sometime at some point that journey to the top. I was reading, I think it was an article in Pie today, and it was a lady that's been with the business for 25 years, just been promoted to a regional managing director, started at 17. So I think there will be those stories out there. Whether there'll be the entrepreneurial growth and rise the way that we did it, or the business did it, probably unlikely, especially with the amount of cold starts. I mean, before the acquisition of the Woolwich, Spicer McCall was on a massive cold start program because Winterthur were driving distribution. We opened, we're sitting here in the City of London, we opened 12 offices of Felicity J. Lord, which was
just bang open.
Opening, in Clerkenwell and with Daniel Derbyshire and Wapping with Chris Lee and Wapping with Warren Black, and then over to Shad Thames with Chris Lee. These people who are still in agency now, starting in this area. It was like big, brave move to break into new territory.
It all at once. Yeah,
so but it's exciting.
I'm just sitting on this thing, just like listening and thinking like, here growth, acquisition, growth, people here, managing people, taking more people on. Like, how did you as an individual work within that? Like, what did you do? What did you learn? Like,
well, I started, so in '95 when we took over, I became the financial services director. So it was slightly, I didn't have quite as many people to deal with because I was dealing one-on-one with mortgage brokers. So that was probably a little bit of an advantage to me, to my estate agency colleagues. I think Damon Carter at the time had come into East London, and he'd gone from managing the Colchester office of Spice McCall to now managing 12 offices of Cornerstone in East London, and getting all these big personalities to try and buy into the way we wanted to do things. And remember, the company that they previously worked for got a big head office. They were getting new cars delivered left, right, and centre. They're getting expenses all sent up, returned, all done. Phone, IT, everything working. We hadn't built the head office structure. We'd built personalities, and so I think they had more people to deal with. So I got to have a bit more of a one-on-one relationship, which I think helped me. And then I moved back into a state agency in, I think it was '98, and took over part of the region. And I got some great people on board. So people like Jackie White was already with the group. She'd left and come back, and then she took over. I gave her more and more offices within East London. Mark Harris came in, a good personality, and really brought some good people around them. So I tried to manage through, not around, which I got wrong often. But if you've got a great leader, then back the leader, get them to back their people. But you also have to sometimes help them to understand that they're being paid by the company, so you can't be a player manager. But so good regional leaders was where the wins were. And equally, I got that wrong probably as many times as I got it right. So sometimes you just get the wrong type of person.
How does that work then? You've got all that experience of seeing it from the top, all that way top down, and now in recruitment as well. Like, what's the wrong person?
I literally was about to ask that.
Yeah, what is the wrong person?
Because not everybody's right for every company, right?
I wish I knew more about profiling back then. I did an awful lot on gut feel and interviews and word of mouth. And
I mean, in the early days, like with the rapid growth, it literally you had to have a heartbeat, right? I'm opening an office next week.
Fast.
You need to fill
it. That was we leaned on recruitment. We leaned on recruitment companies. Ian Dobrin must have had an absolute field day when we bought the Woolwich, because I think he had a contract to fill 100 mortgage brokers. But he still talks about now.
But in hindsight, the ones that worked, the ones that didn't, where you started to see these people fit and these people don't.
I can remember Kent. We went into Kent. And it was, I think the agents in Kent were quite fearful of us, so much so. I can remember one particular gentleman who might be listening to this, went right through the interview process with me, but and then met with Paul and Alec, and we actually found out he was literally on a spying mission, to actually really find out what we were doing. And we made a mistake that often that we would go and recruit a senior person from the market leader, and it's just a different skill set and we think, well, the market leader, they're going to Piper, they're going to bring a load of brilliant people along, and on paper that all works, and that was some of our biggest failures, because they were working in an attraction business. They weren't working in a business where you needed to really hunt out the business, the process, the door knocking, the canvassing, the prospecting, to to really bring people in.
It's such a great point.
And
Yeah.
I used to, I had a top 75. I don't know if it's still going now. I have no contact really for the last 6 years. But one of the big things that used to come out every single month was the top 75, which was the most profitable offices within the group. And I would look down, and in that top 75, homegrown, 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 homegrown. You had to go an awful long way down to find somebody who'd joined the organisation and really adapted and made it successful.
I've got a friend who's still in the industry but in corporate, and he was getting a bit fed up with that corporate life, and he was talking about whether to go to jump for the self-employed, and I was just sort of explaining to him the difference of maybe looking to go for an independent, because you tend to find you get more of a hustle style, like you said, go out and get the business. You're not just a cog in a machine where you sit in a position, you're the valuer, go out and do the valuations, but the valuations are coming in for you. Whereas like in an independent, you don't necessarily have that. You have to, like the amount of times we were recruited from your Warden partners or your Countrywide, your man in Countrywide, and they'd come into the office and they'd sit there and they'd go, so where's my valuations today? You've got to try and hustle it.
Yeah.
And we've had over the years, there's certain people that have obviously come from that background.
You get a CV from someone who works at Google, you're going to be impressed by it, aren't you?
Yes.
You think that they're going to bring something to the organisation, but it turns out they're just
work for Google.
They're just
they're not
just,
doing the they're not the Googler.
They didn't start it.
That's it. Yeah, exactly that. And I don't know. It's interesting because in the recruitment world, and over the last 6 years, really understanding what people want from a company, it's fascinating. We've just done we got our team meeting on Thursday, and we've just done our whole stats to review this year so far, and it's a dead split. 50% of people have gone to independent, 50% of people have gone to corporates, and I think some of the corporates do some incredible things, and some of there's offices in there turning over millions of pounds, and then there's independents that are turning over millions of pounds. There's independents going bust. There's corporates closing offices, and I think the biggest common denominator just comes down to right people being led in the right way with the right technology. Get that in for you, and making sure that the leaders have the freedom to make the right decisions.
Yeah,
which is where the independents win. I think the fleet of foot.
You said homegrown talent, right? So, like, what would you say the behaviours that you notice the word homegrown talent? That if you've got someone out there who's thinking, I want to grow the next, because we have some owners in the past. They're sat there, they think they're capped, and that's where they're in this business going. Or if not, they're going downwards, and they've got a team of people around them that are sort of not necessarily the right people, but they're scared to necessarily find the right. Who do I need to try and attract?
Yeah.
And the problem I think sometimes is like they said, I just need another neg.
Yeah.
But really maybe for someone listening out there, like what would you say are some of the great behaviours that you've seen over the years in all your experience that someone might be like, I've got to try and find people with this sort of ilk?
I believe you need to find people. We used to run a manager induction course, and we talk about what we looked for, and we looked for the compliant best. Because if you're going to work in an independent the size of Spicer Heart or other agencies are available, they've got corporate behaviours because you have to. When a business gets to a certain size,
it's going to get messy.
You have a head office. You have a centralised accounts function. One of the biggest problems I had when we acquired businesses, I remember one in Stoke Newington, the staff were all up in arms about giving us some figures on a Friday night. You're micromanaging us. No. We just need to know what you've done. I remember one of them, we bought the business from a lady called Lynn Brooks. She was an amazing lady in Stoke Newington. I went to her house to agree the deal. And she was just brilliantly eccentric, had a wonderful business, but the staff said, "Oh yeah, Lynn used to give us 50 quid on a Friday night out of petty cash." I said, "No, we just can't do that. We can give you virtual 50 quids in the way of some team rewards and that part, but we just can't do it." So if you're going to go and work for a corporate and you are not that person who's got massive entrepreneurial spirit that needs to, do your own thing,
Maverick,
you're going to struggle. You're a square peg in a round hole. But if you're into, right, I want a career, I want the safety net of, someone's doing my accounts for me, someone's doing this, and there's a good training program, and there's a career path for me to go up to. So we very much talked about the compliant best. I want people who want to be in a structure, but I promise you, within this structure, there's going to be lots of fun and lots of good rewards, and people earn big money. So we'd look for the compliant best, somebody who had some traits in their life that they've been part of something. Whereas now, if an independent is really looking at those free spirited people, I think, who really are pushing all
Make
the time.
things happen, find a way.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the compliant best would be how I used to sum it up.
It's interesting. I was talking to an agent the other day about how a lot of small independent agents have worked in a corporate estate agency, and then they go, well, I could do this, and they open an estate agency. But when they worked in the corporate estate agency, because, as you say, there is a machine behind it, what they actually worked in was the sales office of a corporate estate agency. So they had a whiteboard on the wall with figures on it, and to them that was the business.
Yeah.
And they opened a business and they put a whiteboard on the wall and they kept it, but they've got no HR and they've got no operations and they've got no marketing and they've got, because that was all being done somewhere else.
Being done supported.
And they're the bits that they don't realise. Like, that's what makes this all work.
Yeah.
It's not just the sales office that you worked in on the desk with the plant on them.
And I think sometimes people get into this like, well, don't tell me to do that, I'm not going to do it. And this buffer, and it's crazy, because actually, wherever you work, if you follow the process that the owner of that business, whoever they be, has prescribed, it is probably there to be successful. So there's a very good likelihood that if you follow that process, you will succeed.
Yeah.
If you try and break the process and tell everyone it's so corporate here, or or I've got a better way, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
I've had it in recruitment, I've had it in agency. The world of video, we brought out the world of video, right? Everyone, we need to video properties, we need to do this, and you get people going, I don't want to be on camera, no, don't like it. Recruitment, LinkedIn algorithm will pick up video more than it will pick up text or a static advert. So a really good idea is to do video.
Yeah.
Don't do crap ones, do good ones. Make sure that you watch it back, and you'd have to post the first thing straight away. And people go, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Leave, set up on their own. First thing they do, video. So I read everywhere, this model's broken, that model's broken. I don't think any of the models are broken. I think it's the people within it. At some point, something clicks in you and says, I'm going to throw myself into this
I'm going to evolve
process, and I'm going to follow this path. I'm going to follow this plan, and if I do, I'll be successful.
Yeah, we do. Rob runs a business accelerator program that goes over the course of a year with agents. We bring people in, and one of the ladies who comes in is this lady who spent 27 years building systems at McDonald's. And she was saying at one point they were opening a new restaurant every day, and it's being run by teenagers that can't even tidy their own bedroom.
Yeah.
And if you don't have no systems in place, like, that's just going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But if you do have the systems in place, you go, this is how it works. And they would say to people, look, this is how it works. The fries go on for 2 minutes, 2 shakes of salt, and then 2 more minutes, and they're done.
Yeah.
And if the person goes, oh yeah, but I think they taste nicer if you cook them for a bit longer, you go, well, open your own restaurant.
Yes, it doesn't work. Correct. And that's the great thing, isn't it? It used to be have the process of McDonald's, the marketing of Apple, and the spirit of Virgin. You've got but I said this all the time, this corporate world, people go, oh, we're so corporate. I go, what? Are Virgin, what are they corporate? No, they're independent. They're owned by Branson. No, but they run absolute structure.
Planes around the world.
I don't think these planes
by chance.
Yeah. I tell you what, we'll take off at 10:30. Let's just get
Give me
going.
50 quid on a Friday and I'll fly the plane.
Yeah. So I mean, estate agency is full of entrepreneurial spirits, aren't they? And I think where corporates maybe just can get it wrong is you put lots of layers and layers and layers in, then they have to all do something. And that, for me, is probably where people get clogged. And I always think what we're doing now, or in my current world, I always look at what are we doing for the percentage that we take. So, we're in a franchise model at Rayner Personnel. So we've got a franchisee coming to us. They're running their territory, and there's a split in the commission that comes to us for the support work and bits we do. And so the leadership team at Rayner Personnel are encouraged to every morning think, what are we doing for our percentage share? How are we adding value?
Yeah.
So whether that be, I come here today, we do this. This is a brand builder for a business. It will get more eyes on Rayner Personnel, possibly.
Yeah.
It also gets great that we're discussing the industry that we're so well connected to, and I think that's maybe where a lot of these businesses can go wrong. That you've got decisions being made, but it's not really identifying how it affects Johnny in Doncaster.
How do you? What's some of the main things that you've seen change over the years? Then, so 1987 estate agency versus 2026 estate agency, or even how you see 2029 estate agency. Like you're saying, the models, maybe they're broken, maybe they're not broken, but where's the big differences that you see?
Well, I'm not front line, so I'm giving it from a helicopter view, and I do sense that, and I've thought this for a while, that the portals. So if I relate it back to recruitment, 65% of our placements are made via headhunting. So proactive, outbound, outreach activity. Whereas in a estate agency, I think agents deal with a lot of just the incoming inquiries.
100%,
yeah. And very little cross-selling of other properties that I understand. As I understand it, I don't. If I pop into estate agents, I see estate agents. I've mentored some estate agents, and one of the big frustrations that I will talk to business owners about is, okay, so that person has viewed one. Well, that's because the one they wanted to view. Yeah, but in my world, this was right. You've got someone viewing. Look after them, nurture them, love them.
Find them the house.
Yeah, find them the house. Yeah. And whether you've got that house or somebody else has got that house, find them the house.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it becomes a very transactional business of, I've got an inquiry.
Yeah.
Book the viewing. On to the next.
Do you think that's it's really interesting because obviously I worked in the world that you're talking about as well, whereby the difference I'm thinking is that I can still picture now this couple that came into the office, sat in front of me in the chair and told me that they specifically wanted a house.
High Street North or
High Street North, right? Yeah. That they specifically wanted a house on Kimberley Avenue. Yeah. And I know that either side of Kimberley Avenue, the roads are very similar. And they want a two-bed, and they want a two-bed house, and they want it like this, and da 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 da. And I know the house they're talking about, and I'm going to find it for them
for your 5%.
For my with the magic calculator, right? But do you think that changed when it stopped being the person walking in having that conversation and started being somebody saying, "I want to view this house." End of conversation.
Yeah.
And they went, okay. What else can I find? I don't want you to find me anything else. I want you to find me.
I think maybe estate agents' reputation is not the best amongst the British public, is it? So maybe people have become that very closed book. I want to view that. No, don't tell me anything else.
I don't want to know anything else. I want to view that house.
I mean, I've spent time around agency and agency owners. All my life, but very much more recently, and one of their frustrations will be they can't get their teams to do what we were exactly talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's I haven't got it, So that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you look at and tech, obviously coming in will help identify with the matchmaking type of services of someone on the website looking for this, and then we'll present to them, what about this? What about this? What about this?
It's really interesting.
It's automation, isn't it? Rather than personalised.
It's really interesting.
I did it with an agent only last year now, but we were going through in our platform, predicted viewings. And in the viewing section, he had a list of, and they hadn't been looking at it for ages. I said, "Why are you not in here?" Because they were saying that they haven't got viewing numbers are slowed down. I was like, "Here's the opportunities. Like, system's already told you best." And then he messaged me a week later. So we had a great story. He said we just put a property on the market. A guy looked at it a couple of times, but hadn't booked a viewing and made an inquiry. So we reached out to him and asked him, and he was waiting for reductions to take place. It was when the Ukraine started kicking off, so everyone was a bit nervous. He ended up booking the person in because he had that call, and the guy paid £10 over asking price.
Yeah,
I said, "This is proper estate agency."
Yes.
But if none of that existed, you wouldn't have seen it. The opportunities.
Going back to that lady who came in and registered with me, like she spoke to me, and I knew the house would come up at some point, so I kept her applicant card because you throw away applicant cards, right? So I kept it. And I waited for the day that Peter Bauman walked in and said, "I've got this.
Got it. Here we go.
Paying. I've sold that.
Tell 10. Yeah. Tell 1.
Tell 1. I've sold that. I'm selling that.
I don't know if that art is there anymore of the valuer ringing in. I've just got this. I don't know if it happens. I think so much happens on tech, and I'd be just interested. Maybe I go. I used to love going back to the floor. Maybe I should go back to the floor. But
it's a crazy. So
I'd probably embarrass myself.
Okay, so you see that as like a big shift that's happened, and it probably for the worse generally. Then, like you say, so the portals have made it that way. So, and you was getting on to the point whereby, but in recruitment, see, the interesting thing is that I left the estate agency to go into recruitment. I came into the city and I did IT recruitment. So it was right at the cutting edge of computers and all of that stuff. And at that point, all recruitment was being done through the computer.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's switched.
For us, there's a huge,
I know friends who also would say it's switched as well now. It's very much more personal.
So we're on Indeed, we're on other platforms. So, effectively, every buyer is on Indeed or on Rightmove, so their CVs are there. And a company, if they've got an Indeed account, they can find the same people we could find. But we don't tend to work below valuer, manager, senior neg. And the ones most companies want are not the ones on Indeed.
No.
They're the ones that are quite happy in their current role. So you need to have a reason why to talk to them.
Yeah.
And you need to put yourself out there too.
Interesting.
Talk to them.
Do you think estate agency will then? Does that mean that you feel like it will come more away from the portals, or do you think it will go further towards the portals, or neither?
I come from a time when we were paying, I think, £2,000 a page in the Evening Standard.
Yeah.
So I know agents are up in arms about Rightmove and Rightmove costs, and my partner on my podcast is very passionate about it. But I think, if you're paying £2,000 a branch, I used to pay £2,000 for a page in a newspaper.
It's all just the value, isn't it?
It's like how many inquiries come from this.
I remember watching an interview with Steve Jobs where he was talking about releasing the iPad. He hadn't released it yet, and he was on this interview, and the guy was saying, "Yeah, but you're talking about, it costing people this much money, and like, you really think people are going to pay that?" And he was sort of saying, "Well, I guess the market will tell us whether they think it's worth it or not."
Yeah,
and that's the choice.
And I don't see many agents walking from Rightmove. No. I mean, AI, isn't it? And the Perplexity and was it Claude and ChatGPT and everything coming in, and your own platform, should at one point play a part. But I imagine, I haven't been to Rightmove's head office for a long time, but I imagine there is a floor pretty much dedicated to.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
AI.
It certainly should be.
Or if not, someone's missed. Someone's missed the memo.
We find
AI. What's that?
We find with a lot of our clients who have got established businesses, have gone for that maybe that necessity to grow. Yeah. You say grow up from a lot of estate agency people who worked in estate agencies, have a business, and still in estate agents run a business, not to be business owners who are estate agents.
Yeah.
And
they just run the business from the whiteboard.
And those what we've noticed with the clients that we deal with, none of them moan about Rightmove because they just see it as a necessity towards their acquisition of leads into their
whether it's
database.
Rightmove, Get Even.
They've got to advertise somewhere.
There's
going to have some costs.
yes.
But I think sometimes I always find it's almost like I don't know, like maybe like when you've maybe got a bad relationship or a bad something that might be happening in your life, you direct it against this thing, but actually really the big bugbear is the looking in the mirror and saying like, okay, well, why am I frustrated that I've got to pay $2,500 that the business can't even support that? Have I reduced my fees because I haven't worked on my pitch well enough? That I'm having to compete with everyone because I haven't really worked that out.
Well, I think everyone's focused almost this vision of looking at everything and afraid of missing out on something, that sometimes they just don't look at what's in front of them. I was asked in November, to talk at Sanjay Gandhi's mastermind group. So Josh said, will you go and talk to them? So I thought, well, what am I going to talk about? So I dusted off a little bit of my history of what I did before, and did a little dive into each of their businesses just on the portals, to talk to them about it. And you think, well, you if you're going to spend money on this, make sure your property, your content stands out, looks incredible, and really demonstrates your value to a customer, and showcases your vendors' homes. And I think everyone can keep thinking about AI is going to solve this, or this bit of tech's going to solve this, or some future bit. I think you just need to stand and look at your window and think, right, how does my office look? Looks really clean, looks crisp. I'm proud of it. I go inside, carpet looks great, chairs look great, everything looks great. What do my staff look like? Are they fitting the brand? Yeah, they're fitting the brand as well. Right, now let's look at our process. And you need to get that consistency, I think, because I walked down Hoe Street in Walthamstow about 3 weeks ago, to see a client, and I didn't look at the market share. But I reckon just from looking at the offices, I could tell you who was 1, 2, 3.
I think you probably could,
and the activity that they were doing on the phone.
It's quite interesting, actually. Like years and years ago, I remember walking down my old high street, and you did exactly that in an evening. How does the offices look compared to ours?
Well,
what are we doing?
The McDonald's lady said I
Yeah.
remember her telling us that like part of the branch manager's job is every 40 minutes or something, they have to take a 10-minute walk away from the restaurant and walk back and see what the experience is like, and come to the restaurant and walk in and go in the toilets and come out, check the tables, and then go back to work.
But they've got a great marketing campaign at the moment, haven't they? I heard it on the radio. So it's a 23-year-old running Croydon with 32 staff, but she's literally following the process.
Follow the process.
Yeah. Which is where franchising is a great tool with what we're doing now. We've spent 6 years defining and refining a process. And it's 5 steps. And if you do those 5 steps, you will make these placements.
And what with regards to your franchising side, what have you found, like your wealth of knowledge, the mountain that you obviously sat at, and the knowledge you have for all those years in different positions, and now obviously you're now the managing director of the franchise recruitment side to it. The franchisees coming in, are they from estate agents? Are they from
all of our franchisees are estate agents? Yeah. So every one of them has a sales or lettings background. We failed on recruiters. We've had people who've had solely recruitment experience.
It's like a reoccurring theme, that, right?
Yeah.
People that think that they already know how to do it.
Yeah. Well, trying to explain property managers, block managers, branch managers. It's those pieces that they've struggled with, and also sometimes just providing, if you're recruiting for hotels or managers, the brief is huge, whereas the brief that we get 99% of the time is, I need a valuer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've had to ask ourselves those challenging questions on why certain people failed, and that was because we took on free-spirited people thinking they're coming to us to be free-spirited, but we're a franchise that you need to follow this process, and if you do, you'll be successful.
And for your we speak to a lot of agents who have gone, they might be independent and they're looking to do the self-employed thing because that's the route to go down, and they might be stuck in an independent and then trying to do the self-employed on the side. I know such and such is out of our patch and we'll just take them on. And I'm like, or we've got agents who have set up a self-employed model and they're trying to do the franchisee part to it. And I'm forever saying to them, it's no different than when you when you're out on the flip side, you're out valuing and you're trying to win business against another estate agent, and like you just haven't really worked out what makes you different. They're always going to come back to like what percentage that self-employed model is going to give you,
Yes.
and like anything else with it. What do you find with regards to like maybe learning that franchisee side to recruitment? That maybe
I
if
think
someone
the biggest mistake we made was calling it self-employed for the first few years. It was a franchise when I joined Josh. It was a franchise business. Then we converted it to a license model, which was heavily built on you're self-employed. Well, when you say to people, and I used to get this quoted to me all the time, you can't tell me what to do. I'm self-employed.
Yeah.
No, I'm not telling you what I'm to do. What I'm doing is suggesting that if you do this, you will remain.
You'll get the result.
You will remain having this freedom. And when I did work with David Lee, when we started the journey for them in their self-employed partnership offering, it was very much that actually you're going to work harder in this than you ever have done before. And you need to dedicate the first 18 months of your life to this 7 days a week. The payback of that will be you'll start to get freedom of your time. And I think when you're employed, you're heavily taxed, both in finances and in time. So the one thing I think you get back is it's all your time. So no one else is pulling you left, right, centre. It's your time, and if you follow that process, you will be successful. And people buy a franchise, I think as well. You should make the barrier to entry. We made that mistake. We were very low. First of all, sign up, come on in. And if people haven't got a financial commitment, they do come on in. Whereas our program now, there's an upfront fee, there's training program, there's ongoing, but there's so much support. And we want to see people have got 6 months at least saved to come and do this, because otherwise you smell badly of commission breath because you're desperate to.
That franchisee model, like how have you? You said like this, we've been developing out, we've made good decisions, bad decisions, we made mistakes like that. How do you do that? Do you tend to do that with the franchisee current people that you are the really good ones, or is it a case of you do it more from your perspective, Josh's perspective?
All of the above, really. We had some very vocal franchisees. Have some franchisees that have left and told me some home truths as they did. And I think you just learn from everything. So as much as that might have hurt to receive it, you digest it and think about it and think, right, was it noise or have they got a valid point? We don't run such a steering group, but we've got some pretty vocal people within our business who will tell us quite directly, and we make sure that we it's not an open door policy, but it's we're available. So what do you need?
What you think.
How can I help? How can we all move forward in the right direction? Because ultimately it's a win-win. If they bill, then we take our fee. If they don't bill, we don't.
I think it's like everything in life. Like all of that can be summed up as there is no shortcut. Like even when we do events, we found over the years maybe the tickets are too expensive. Maybe we should do it for free. Then people just don't turn up. There's no commitment. So the same with when you're recruiting, everybody wants a white knight that just comes in. We haven't got a training program, but if we hire a white knight, they'll come in and just take care of it all. No, they won't. They'll take a high salary for 6 months and then you'll fire them because you're no better off than when you started. Except you're 6 months down the line, you've got less money. It's all hard. There's no shortcut.
There's no shortcut to anything. There isn't. No, you got to follow a process. Everything. I think.
Hopefully, like you say, you can just learn from someone else's mistakes. It's a little bit less hard.
They've made those mistakes, and we know we don't teach you that bit. But that'll be it. I think every single person in 6 years that has joined us has made a placement. So it's whether they've left, whether they didn't enjoy it, or they went, but they made that one placement by
so it can be done.
Following the process. It's then, have you got it in you to repeat?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember talking to Mike here from Avocado, and he was saying something similar, whereby sit down with somebody, they take the license or the franchise, they tell them there's 8 things that need to be done. They go through the process. The person goes like, yeah, I don't know. I might do it slightly differently to that.
Yeah.
And then, 4, 5, 6 months down the line, the person's back in their office going, this isn't working. And they're going, yeah, it's interesting that, because it seems to be working for all of these people that are following the process. And it doesn't seem to be working for you.
Anna Smith in Ealing for David Lee, now IAD, and Anna, was coming back from maternity leave, didn't want to go back into the office she was, and we said, right, this is exactly this. I would say this is what I would do to get the business up and running. And she said, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to employ a photographer. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I've read on LinkedIn, she, in their version of Capped, she's 5 years in, but she's done it in 4 months. It's just like, oh, what do you do, Anna? I follow the process. And I say to all of our recruiters, so probably he is this year our most successful recruiter, Alex Bryant in Cambridge, incredible young man, just brilliantly driven, passionate, gets up every morning ready for the day ahead. And people go, right, what's Alex do? What's Alex do to make all these placements? I said, it's not what Alex does today. It's what Alex did 5 years ago when him and me started pretty much the same time. And we went, right,
do this.
Phone every agent in Norwich.
Yeah.
Phone every agent in Cambridge and just keep offering that service. So process,
follow the process.
Routine and process will set you free.
Have Rob coaches all of our agents, and the same thing. We have a process. Like when people join Iceberg, they want to change the way their business is working, and we have a process of showing them how you get to the end result. You follow it, it works every time. But not everybody follows it. So it's the same in all the businesses, right? It's like I just said before, some people I've got some scars from stuff that hopefully you don't have to get.
Yeah. And we're in the era of distraction, aren't we? People are distracted by everything. So finding out if people have got that mental capacity to sit, follow a process and, give them the regular breaks because they need them to then come back in and go, right, let's go again. It's call stats and things like that, which, I've championed, I've been there. So, if you could have, with your couple back in East Ham, if you'd sold a house that day, you've sold a house.
Yeah.
But if you didn't, if you said, well, no, I can't really spend too much time with them because I've got to make 25 outbound calls, what's the better result?
Absolutely. It's outcomes over output. It's so clear now, especially with AI, that we're moving even more into a world of outcomes over output. I had a call just 2 weeks ago with an agent. We've got this thing called AI Scouts. So the AI goes out, it finds all the addresses of the properties that are on the market, it monitors how long they're on the market for, who's had price reductions, who's had fall throughs. It finds the contact details that match up with that in their database. It finds what buyers they've got that match, what properties they've sold nearby. And it goes, here you go. Here's all the low-hanging fruit and here's what to say. Even writes the outreach. The guy came back to me and said, right, I've been using this now for 3 months. Doesn't work. And I was like, oh, right. What doesn't work? He was like, well, look, here's my Excel spreadsheet of what we've been doing. There's 43 properties here. We've all been on the market more than 10 weeks. We've got the contact details. Here's what we've done. Left message, didn't get an answer. All of that sort of thing. Sent 43 letters, didn't get a single instruction. I'm like, right? He's like, so it doesn't work. I'm like, no, you don't work.
Yeah. You've got the data.
Like the outcome is getting an instruction. Making phone calls and leaving voicemails is irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Like, I've done that bit for you.
Yeah.
Like the piece of finding the data has already been done. Your job is finding instructions, not leaving voicemails.
Yeah.
In recruitment, your job is making placements.
Yeah.
So you can do it in an hour.
Here's somebody who wants a job. Here's someone who wants to employ someone.
Yeah. And if they don't go together, something's not right somewhere. The job is the outcome, not the output. So
and speed, it's all about, for me, speed. I think there's get your system so simple.
Yeah.
So that everything can be done quickly. We're in a now world, aren't we?
Absolutely.
People want things, and you get anything now. So you need to be able to get that property to that person or that job to that person fast.
Love it. Anything else that you want to ask?
No, great guest.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed watching on LinkedIn your video, so it's nice to actually interview in person now.
If there's anybody out there that is either thinking to themselves, I need to talk to Russell for whatever reason, recruitment, whatever, where are they most likely to get a reply from you?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
DM me on LinkedIn or just call me. My numbers are all on LinkedIn. I will call you back. So
Perfect.
You can get hold of me in any which way you want.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, gents.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.